So thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I haven't presented in a while, and this is probably the most common topic that I get asked to present when I share my list of topics, because who doesn't love things that are free or cheap, right? Um, some of these things are time investments. Some of these things are tools that I use with my clients. But my goal today would be for you to walk away with at least one or two things that you're like, aha, like that sounds like something I might like to look into. So there's 15 of them, 15 tips, tricks, and tools. I believe we'll be sending out the slide deck. So I don't want you to feel like you have to take notes. You can be present. The slide deck does contain pretty much all of my notes. Um, you should be able to remember things by just looking at the slide deck. But again, I just want you to be able to be present. What would be helpful for me as a speaker is if you open up your chat feature and if one of the numbers resonates with you, just throw it in the chat for me because that at the end I can download the notes and see if that's something that I should keep in my slide deck or definitely remove or something like that. So, all right, so let's get started here. So first things first, for those I have not met in the room, who is Tingalls Graphic Design? So I started this firm in around 2000. We boast a 5-day turnaround for all of our services. So if you have a need on Friday, call us on Monday and we're going to have you set. This does include website design. We provide the original or the initial design of all of our websites within a week after meeting with our clients. So that's kind of our claim to fame. I have to update this. We've actually worked with over 1,500 clients at this 26th mark of my business. Nonprofits, mostly small business, about 80% small business, 20% large business. Um, we do logo design, sales collateral, we do illustrative work, website design. We're getting more into the packaging realm. So if you have a client that is looking to get into food packaging or they have like some kind of a packaging that they're looking to have done, we've been doing a lot of that. Our team is in the final stages of getting certified through an organization called Food Package Pro, which is a certification that nobody in the Midwest has, which basically just says we know what we're doing. We know how big to make that barcode. We know how big to make the fonts, things like that. So, and then just like this, I do consulting and workshops for people who are struggling with marketing. The film strip there is my team. Callie is my account manager slash senior designer. She's been with me for 13 years. Nicole has been with me for 8. And then Katie's our newer designer, and she's been with me for a year. So these are all marketing options that you have, people, and this is overwhelming on purpose. And the reason I put up this slide is that it kind of showcases that you can't do everything, you can't afford everything, and nor should you be trying to do everything. And so my job with most of my clients is to determine, who they are, who their target audience is, what their budgets is, what are their goals of their company, where are they in the stage of their company, because brand awareness is very different than launching a new product as far as where we're going to be marketing that. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to kind of remove this and I'm going to give you 15 free or cheap ways to market your business that I have used with my clients or recommended that they use when they have a pretty minimal budget, but they have a little bit more time. So the first thing is kind of obvious, but claiming your business listings is, the Google of the world, Bing, Yahoo, that is the yellow pages of the world. So if you're not claiming your business and optimizing your business listings, it's a huge missed opportunity. I give a whole other presentation on exactly how to claim and optimize your Google listing and what you should be doing on a regular basis to be current with Google. And it's wild to me that at this stage, with how important Google is with search, that people are not claiming and optimizing. And when I mean optimizing, I mean adding photos, adding links to appointments, products. You can add more than one category. You can even frequently asked questions and then answer them. So if it's, something about turnaround, something about maybe the methodology in which you work, things like that, it's really important to be optimizing these things. The most important thing that I would recommend that you do is check out the updates area of Google My Business. And the reason I'm recommending this is Regular activity, it shows that your business is open, that you're trying to engage. This is the social media feed for Google. And what's cool about this feed is that you can click on something and you can go back in time and look at all the different comments this client has made or posts or events or whatever. It just is a really way for somebody who's comparing organizations in the Google Map Pack area to compare you to competition, and if you're really engaged, you're doing a lot of things in the community or you're doing a lot of things for your customers, it's going to show in this feed. Um, these different updates also can show up in Google Maps if it's like an event related thing and in search results. So posting photos, events, news things, all that kind of stuff, that's going to boost engagement with your organization. So I would highly recommend that if you're not doing updates, to really think about Google as a social media platform and start paying attention to that. And what your goal is when you log into Google My Business, you want this coveted green circle right here. If this is not green, click into this and figure out what you're missing. As you click on the edit profile area here, there are tons of different sections of content in Google My Business. Again, I have a whole other presentation that we go through, but if you're a woman-owned business, if you're a veteran-owned business, if you're LGBTQ friendly, if you're transgender safe space, there's a lot of amazing things that you can add to your profile that a lot of people are not. Even adding your hours, people don't do that. So definitely take a look at that. Google's, if you play in Google Sandbox, I feel like you're going to get rewarded. It will favor you as a more credible business, a more relevant business, and a more timeless business. And customers can get information on you, right away, which improves their trust. So that's Google. The other one that people don't know about, how many in here have an iPhone? Okay. Have you gone out to Apple Business Connect and created a profile for your business? Yeah. Okay. So the map, so when you have your Apple phone, the Maps app on your phone is its own directory. It may pull things from Google, but it may not be accurate. So you need to go out to Apple, just Google search Apple Business Connect. You have to log in with your Apple ID. If you don't have an Apple ID, if you're an Android person or family, you can just create an Apple ID. And once you have an Apple ID, you can create a profile. You can see on the right that you can add photos, you can add a write-up, you can add all kinds of things about whether you offer parking, whether you offer credit card payments, all kinds of different stuff. And you can add call to action buttons. So instead of just the directions, you can add a call button, a book me button, a sign up, whatever it is. So again, if this is something that you've never heard of, drop a number 1 in the chat to remind yourself that you need to do this. Other directories to consider, I mean, Google, Bing, and Yahoo are the top 3 search engines, but, ChatGPT is another search engine now. And there isn't like a way for you to, create a listing with ChatGPT, at least as far as I know, or Gemini or those other ones, but they are extracting data from databases like the ones that are listed on the screen. If you have a B2C business, I would definitely recommend you getting on the Nextdoor app and creating a business profile there. Yelp, if it makes sense for your business. I know there's a lot of consultants in the room here today, and so they're probably more B2B. But, obviously creating a business profile on LinkedIn, stuff like that. So those are of note, other directories that I would say are worth your time. Number 2, be seen as an expert in your industry. I mean, everyone here is probably would consider themselves, at least an expert in something. And for me, it's how do we get our name out there to be seen as an expert in our field without us shouting it from the rooftops or saying we're experts, right? So in magazines, every magazine in Madison has an editorial calendar of what they're planning on talking about for the month. And, for example, this September issue of In Business Magazine here, oops, I didn't mean to show that. Has startup company profiles in it. So if you have a startup company and you want to be listed, this would be a great opportunity for you to be listed in that magazine. If you, this one, Wisconsin Agriculture and Energy, if you consult on those topics, What you might want to consider doing is not just advertising in these magazines, but writing an article about what's trendy, what is, best practices in your arena, and pitch it to the editor or editors of these magazines and say, I would love for you to run this article. I don't want to be compensated, but I would like you to, put a small notation that I wrote the article or something along those lines. They're always hungry. Magazines are always hungry for content, and if it's something that is well written, something that they don't have to send one of their writers out to actually report on or do the work, it's saving them a ton of money. And if you position it that way, it's likely to get picked up. Maybe it won't go in the printed magazine, but maybe it'll be an online article that you can then share on your social media, etc. So this is Brava magazine. This is their media kit that they have. Again, they've got, fashion, home, if you're like a consultant that does staging or something like that. Again, choose a magazine that is the target audience that you want to reach. If you're trying to reach men, maybe not go to Brava. But, magazines are a really great way to be seen as an expert. Podcasts, these are two podcasts that I've been on recently. The Agency Rise podcast, I just posted my podcast in a two-part series on LinkedIn. So if you're interested in seeing like what that's all about, that was super fun. It's basically just asking about my agency, challenges that I've had, successes that I've had, what my special sauce is, that kind of thing. It was really fun. And a lot of people know Chris Rudolph. He actually used to be, I think, the director at the Dream Bank at American Family. And so he's just really, really trying to grow this Agency Rise, kind of We All Rise Together podcast. And then James Cademan, he's a really cool guy. He does Authentic Business Adventures, which is just like a really cool in-person, on video, chair to chair kind of podcast. But then there's a visual and an auditory. So, just pitch an idea to him. He's always looking for people, and he's really easy to talk to, and you don't have to be nervous. It'd be really fun. These are two things that have changed kind of throughout the years, but these are news source outlets. So connectively.us is where social media, news, places like, the ones listed down at the bottom, like, Fortune, Forbes, Inc., magazines, lots are looking for sources in expertise that they're looking to cite in their articles. So you can create an account. I don't know if Connectively is free, but Quoted is free. But you could go in, create a profile, tell people what you have expertise in, and then there's also like places where you can go on these websites to read what people are looking for information on. You can submit your expertise, and then if you're selected, I don't know if there's a compensation aspect to it, but even if there's not, put a Google alert out on your name, and if you get quoted in Forbes magazine, hey, that's going to look pretty good. So that's something to take a look at. All right, number 3, leveraging strategic partnerships. So this kind of might seem like a no-brainer, but I don't feel like people have a very solid plan around this. So, for example, what you should do is put your company in the middle, put a couple bubbles around your company of strategic partners that are good referral sources for you. So, for me, since I do a lot of startup and new business work, attorneys, coders, small business bankers, IT, I'm realizing that this list is really quite old. I need to update it. But then when you have that kind of, these are the different kinds of fields, then you find 3 or 4 companies that you want to build relationships with and create like your own little B&I group, or create your own little strategic bubble of really good strategic partners. And what's great about having that is that you can get testimonials from each other. You could do guest blogging on each other's websites, which is really great exposure for each of you. You can combine marketing efforts. So Wells Print and Digital is a printer out in Fitchburg, and they, back probably about 10 years ago, we used to do a printed newsletter together. I would do the design, they would do the printing, and we would send it to both our client databases. And so it was a really great way to showcase, Tingalls as a graphic designer, and then also Wells Print and Digital as a really great printer because of the quality of the printing and that kind of thing. So, Combining marketing efforts can be really valuable. Doing quarterly check-ins, so having a really good standard for every quarter, having coffee with one of these, um, maybe making sure that they're added to your newsletter, whatever that might be. But this one to me is something that I feel like people have. They're just not really maybe sure how this could help benefit their business. But to me, if you're already, if you already have the same target audience, this is kind of a no-brainer that let's help each other rise up. All right, number four is checking your membership benefits. So if you're in a chamber of commerce or an affiliation of some sort, even MABC has potential advertising opportunities, newsletter advertising opportunities. You could pitch a workshop or host a workshop for those organizations for free. Um, or sponsoring an event for them. So getting your name out there with a, monetary sponsorship that makes sense for your organization. I did a power lunch workshop for the Middleton Chamber of Commerce, and I think the topic was how to know or how to choose where you should be advertising. And there were like 40 people in the room, and I probably had six new clients out of just that one event. It was very, very lucrative for my business. People really loved the tips that I gave, and I presented the information in such a way that it was like, here's everything that I know. Here's a bunch of worksheets. You can go do it on your own. Or if you're overwhelmed or it's not your lane, obviously you can hire me. But I never go into my workshops thinking I'm going to gain business from it. I'm just here to help, and I want you to learn from what I've learned. And that can be a really great way to, to boost your visibility with chambers or affiliations that you're already part of. All right. Number five. So this is actually one of those you're like, duh, I should be doing this, but not a lot of people add their friends and family to their marketing lists. And on Facebook, if you're logged in as your personal as the owner of the page, not logged in as the page, if you click on these three little buttons, you can literally click the invite friends and then just go and invite every friend that you're friends with on Facebook. Why shouldn't they or wouldn't they want to be following your business? And so this is just a great way. You never know. I started doing some work for one of my friend's uncles who had a woodworking shop in his basement. You just never know like what lead might come from where. I also have a Christmas. How many of you have like a Christmas card list, right? People that you're sending Christmas cards to. Put that into your database and just put them in as friends and family. To me, it's just again, it's just a missed opportunity not to be leveraging the people who care about you and want to support you and see you succeed. And then inviting them to trade shows, inviting them to come out to any events that you're doing, invite them to come to places that you're speaking, all that kind of stuff. So tapping into friends and family is kind of one of those like, oh yeah, I should probably be doing that. Vehicle lettering, it's not just for the trades. There's a lot there. While there's two cars here listed that have vinyl lettering that for the trades, you can throw something on the back bumper of your car, on the door of your car that's just a magnet, that's just your website or a QR code or something like that. That's like, are you struggling with this in your life? Are you struggling with this in your business? I can help with a QR code to learn more. I mean, how many times are you stuck in Beltline traffic and you're literally looking at the back of a bumper of a car? It's a missed opportunity for a very low cost. You could get a magnet for like $30, $40 and put your logo on your vehicle. And then if you really don't want it on there for the weekends or whatever, you can just remove it. But to me, it's just, again, I have a personalized plate too. It says Tingalls on it. So like I've had people be like, oh, Tingalls, I saw you on the Beltline. So things like that, like turn your vehicle, which you're in all day, especially if you're doing a lot of traveling, traveling outside Madison, to definitely do some vehicle lettering or some sort of advertising in your vehicle. Um, so email marketing, I know it's got a bad rap in some ways because I feel like, we don't shop anywhere online without that 20% coupon. And then we're bombarded by email marketing that's coming from those merchants. But that's not the email marketing I'm talking about. I'm talking about creating an informative e-newsletter that is an educational piece that adds value to your clients and prospects. So Tingle's newsletter is three parts. They're usually some sort of message from me that just says, what the company is up to. There's a blog, a link to a blog, and then we do like a design showcase just to kind of showcase like a project that we've been working on. But most of the time, my emails are really just a lot of like what we're doing today, tips and tricks and tools and things that will help move your business along when it comes to marketing. And I feel like the more informative those newsletters are, the more likely they are to A, get read, but then B, also not get unsubscribed from. Because all I want is that 20% off coupon. I'm unsubscribing from those merchants usually immediately. And now they want you to not only add your email, but they want your phone number too. So they'll give you 10% if you give your email, 20% if you give their email and their cell phone. It's a gimmick. And that's not the type of email marketing. So email marketing, I feel is getting a bad rap. Um, but I think if you reframe it and think a little bit about it, adding your clients, all of your vendors, your strategic partners, your families and friends, those kinds of things. Again, it's just a brand awareness kind of tool. And Constant Contact has a really cool tool now that has something called heat mapping on it. So it'll actually tell you as people scroll down your email newsletter, what they hovered on, what they clicked on. Obviously, it's probably more for desktop viewing, but that's kind of important information because it will tell you whether or not people are clicking on text links or whether they're clicking on buttons, things like that. So, and if you're like me and you're like, God, what should I even talk about in an emails newsletter? You can use ChatGPT for that. You could say, I'm in this business, I'm in this industry. What are the top 10 frequently asked questions about my business? And then you've got 10 newsletters right there that you could start sending out. All right, number eight, harnessing the power of targeted Facebook ads. So if you're business to consumer, or even if you're business to business like me, and for example, we were trying to get in front of people who were, their titles were like chief marketing officer or strategic marketing representative, something along those lines. We realized pretty quickly that you could actually target people's titles in Facebook. So if there's a specific title that you're looking to get in front of, obviously pick your demographics, pick your age, pick your gender, pick your location and that kind of thing. But then you can also pick by title, you can pick by interest. A lot of this comes down to understanding who your target audience is, what are their behaviors and interests, where are they likely to be seeing one of your ads. But and I'm looking at this now and looking at this age gap here. This is way too broad. I would definitely bring this down now to like probably 45 to 55, something like that. Do like a 10-year age gap, or run like an A/B and do different age gaps, or do men only or women only, something like that. Facebook advertising is a lot easier, in my opinion, than Google advertising if you want to dip your toe into spending, $25 a week and seeing if you could get some traction. So just don't forget to add in some of these behaviors and details in your advertising to really get a little bit more of a targeted response. Okay, this is something too that I was really surprised how many people don't know about Every Door Direct. So, gone are the days, in my opinion, of buying a mailing list that you can use one time, that you can never use again, that is expensive, those kinds of things. Every Door Direct from the United States Postal Service is basically the response to wanting to be able to be more direct with where you're mailing out your postcards. So if you go to USPS or USPS.com, look for the business tab, scroll down, go to Every Door Direct. What you do is you can put in your own business if you want to target around your business. Put in the radius that you want to do. And then what comes up is the little map pin of your business. And then all these purple lines are mail routes. And you can determine how much you want to spend, or how much you want, how many pieces you want to go out by clicking on those purple routes, and it'll tell you how many mail pieces you need, the approximate cost of which is postage, which is about 25 cents a piece, which is cheaper than even doing a postcard rate. You click next step, you pay for it, and then it tells you how many post offices to drop off and how many pieces to drop off. And then it will literally just slide it in with every piece of mail that those houses get. So you've probably got this mail before, but you just didn't know that it was every door direct mail. But I recommend this for things like brand new businesses that Hydrate IV, for example, just opened up in the Hilldale area, and she's going to be doing every door direct mail now that they're open to offer, people to come in with a coupon on that. Just basically to be like, we're here, we're open, come check us out. Here's $25 off or whatever, whatever that coupon looks like. And, bring this coupon or bring this card in. That way you can sort of start to track whether or not it was successful. You can also add a QR code to this, and you can put a tracking on the QR code that would help people know or help you know whether people actually scanned it so that we know that whether it was successful. But if direct mail is something that you're at all interested in, or your clients might be interested in increasing brand awareness or exposure, I would definitely check this out because honestly, you could probably get your piece designed, printed, and mailed for less than $1 a person, which could be a really great, low cost way to increase awareness. All right. Number 10, website keyword optimization. So it is becoming very hard to be found organically now with AI kind of taking over search results at the top here. So now we have a new layout. We have AI results at the top. Then we have sponsored ads, which are Google advertising. And then we have the map pack, which is the Google My Business listing. And then we have organic listings at the bottom. So it is becoming a little bit harder to be found by just putting keywords in your website, but it is by no means not an important practice when it comes to your website design. So the top 6 areas where you should be putting keywords are that Google wants them is the page name itself. So instead of this saying thepainterlady.com/services, which is really generic, it's interior painting, which is one of their top keywords. Then you want to be putting them in the H1 or the headline tag of the website. You want to be putting keywords in the body copy, which is kind of a no-brainer. But normally you want to be putting them in the first sentence or the first paragraph of the body copy. Number 4 is you want to be naming your images before you upload them. So, for this, it would be the Painter Lady interior painting living room, Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, something like that. The actual file name, the JPEG name, not the alternate text tag, although that's important as well for disability compliance for Google, but the actual file name is a missed opportunity, especially if you're in an area where people might be searching for images about your business. Like if you're a photographer or if you are an interior designer or something and you want to show people your work and you want those images to show up in Google Images. If you upload a photo from your phone, the tag is something like, or the file name is like dco569.jpg. That is not going to give you any search engine value in Google Images at all. So name your images before you upload them. Number 5 is a little bit behind the scenes, but most websites like Squarespace, WordPress has a plugin called Yoast SEO that will give you access to changing the title tag and then also the meta description. And the meta description, while there's some on the fence people about whether that actually has search engine optimization value, it's a sales opportunity, in my opinion, for you to force Google to put what you want there. Because if you don't tell Google what you want there, it will just take the first sentence of the page, which may or may not be salesy. So take a look at these 6 packs and check your website, every single page of your website, and make sure that you've got keywords in these main areas. So doing something like this, hosting a webinar, obviously gains credibility, it gains trust. I know what I'm talking about. It positions you as an expert. It's a value add to your customers if you were to only provide those services, webinars to your customers. It usually leaves them wanting a little bit more. It leaves them with, more questions maybe that they came with. And then for me, I've been doing Munch and Learn so long, I now have a huge gallery, which is why I wanted to record this session because I've updated it from 10 tips to 15 for y'all. It's created a huge gallery for me of things that people might want to learn more about. So this is a playlist in YouTube that I send to all of my new clients so they can check out other things that I've talked about. Okay, so this is new for me. So, writing an ebook, checklist, or a buyer's guide of some sort as a lead magnet on your website. So, I have been hearing from a lot of people in Madison that they're getting websites that are not functioning well in search. They're not editable by them. And so they're really frustrated with an investment that they made and they're upset, that they kind of went down the wrong road. So what I did is I created a 4-page document to help you write a request for proposal, which has everything that you might need in your website. Red alerts or red flags to look for in a proposal, what questions to ask a website design firm so that you make sure you get what you're looking for. I mean, website design can be, minimum $5,000 investment for your business. So you want to make sure you get what you're looking for. Um, so we have this on our website. You just got to give me your email. I do not follow up with you if you give me your email. But it's just a way for me to kind of see whether or not the guide is gaining traction and that kind of thing. But it's a free PDF download. So if you have any clients or you yourself are looking for a website, I would love some feedback on this. This is the first time that I've ever done anything like an ebook or a checklist, I guess. So if you download this, I'd love to know what your thoughts are. But you can print it professionally. You can give it out as a freebie when you speak, and obviously share it with your strategic partners. I was just at my referral group yesterday, and they were like, "You should just give us that PDF and we can forward it on." I mean, my branding's on it, so if they need a website, obviously, I would love for them to hire me. But this can be a really great way for you to have some gated content on your website to start getting some emails that you can add to your email list. Okay, QR codes since COVID have become widely used. I think like pre-COVID, people thought that if you scanned a QR code, you were giving information to people and it was a privacy thing. Now people know that it's not like that. And so anything that you have that's printed, you need to be putting a interactive digital code on. And whether that's to like this one for this butterfly exhibit, which is really cool in the Dells if you are in that area, if you've got kids. Um, it's scan to plan. So it's basically just like, how to get there, what the fees are, how to purchase tickets ahead of time. It just goes to their website. But then they have these little, um, business cards as well that they're leaving with some area merchants and things like that. So adding QR codes is really a really great way to see, what traction you're getting to your website and that kind of thing. You can also use like a custom URL like bit.ly.com to track how many people scan it. So maybe you have an event or a trade show and you put a QR code at your booth and you want to see how many people scan it at your booth. You could use the bit.ly.com and create like an actual trackable link. And I wanted to show you too, I didn't know this, but you can create a QR code by right-clicking in Chrome and on any web page that you want a QR code for, go to create QR code for this page, and then it creates a little QR code for you there. If you don't want one that looks like this with the dinosaur, you can use this QR code generator.com and it's free. Okay, we're getting there. You're doing great. Okay, number 14. User try. So this is more of a tool, but I feel like it's a really important tool. And Tingles actually used this and made significant changes on our website after we redesigned last fall to our website. What Hotjar does is it puts a tracking code in your website and it monitors how people interact with your content on your website. So looking at this screenshot, anything in red is a highly clicked thing. So when I'm looking at this, obviously, my portfolio, my about page, and my services pages are my top pages. But what I wanted to point your attention to is down in that core services area, that red bar, all of those used to be graphics. They used to be like illustrations that would say there was like an illustration of like a computer and then it said website design. And what we found is that nobody was clicking on these. And this was like our major conversion problem for our homepage because nobody was realizing that those were buttons. The minute we changed this over, this is showing a 30-day snapshot of the buttons that are the most popular. But I was just like so happy that people were clicking on these buttons because this is where I want people to go in my website. So heat maps are really cool. And you can put them on multiple pages of your website. And I believe that this is a free service on like one or two pages of your site, and then it only shows you like the last like I think a couple 90 days of recordings. But speaking of recordings, this is a really cool. So it will actually record users on your website. So this is also Hotjar. So you can add this to your website. And I will tell you, it is both highly rewarding when they actually click on that console button, but it is also super frustrating when you realize your website is designed in a way that's confusing to somebody. So we are doing work for a company that is a property management. They own apartments. And we added Hotjar. They brought me in as a consultant. They're like, people are just not clicking on the places where we thought that they would click. So we added it. And one of the things that we realized right away was that 90% of their traffic was coming from smartphones. And they were making people go like this on their smartphone like 10 times before they could even see what properties were available. So we completely renovated the website. We put that button at the top, and now they're getting way more submissions, way more, click-throughs where they want people to be clicking because they're not making people scroll. And I'll tell you, like, watching these recordings, like this person right now, I was like, what are they doing? Like, why are they on a desktop with their mouse just going back and forth and back and forth? People are reading the content with their mouse is what I'm realizing. So it's like, okay, people are reading the content. That's great to know. So check this out. It is very easy to add to your website. If you need help, just reach out to me. I'm happy to show you how to add it. It's just really a cool tool that we found out. Okay, the last tip I have for you is I've been doing a lot of research on AI. I've had people telling me I found you through AI, and I'm like, sweet. I didn't know I was being found that way. And what I realized is that we have a lot of content on our website and a lot of really good, helpful content that's not salesy. So a lot of that's frequently asked questions, Q&A, sessions in our blog, third-party analysis of tools, things like that. And this is what AI software platforms are looking for. They're not looking for salesy, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. They're looking for, are you struggling with this? Here's a solution, that, works for me, or here's how I work with my clients, things like that. So if you don't right now have, like, this is a screenshot from my website design page because these are the most common questions that ChatGPT told me that people are asking about website design. So if you don't know what questions people are asking, ask your ChatGPT. Say, what are people asking in your platform about business consulting, marketing, whatever that might be. All right. So if that's not enough for you guys, you can scan this QR code and you can get 50 more ideas from ChatGPT. If you happy to see that the chat's got a bunch of numbers, that makes me super happy. I will just put this screen up for you that if there's something in the list that you are like, tell me more, scan this QR code, get on my calendar for a 15-minute consult. I would love to talk to you about it. I would love to give you more information. I am an open book. I love helping people.